The fire that consumes is not always kindling from below. It frequently burns brightest from above, sent by hands unseen yet all-powerful. A man who ignites a flame in the forest must pray he isn't encircled by dry wood. Chosen ones, you know who you are. You've been forged in flames they believed would break you, yet here you stand, untouched and unyielding. The hands that sought to harm you thought they were invincible, but they've provoked a force beyond their understanding. A fire has been started, one they cannot predict nor extinguish. Before we delve deeper, take a moment to hit the like button beneath this video to help spread this message to more chosen ones. And don't forget to join the Chosen One Sanctuary because this message must resonate far and wide. This is your responsibility. What you are about to hear isn't merely a message, it's a wake-up call for every chosen one still doubting their worth and power. Together, let's turn up the heat. Listen, chosen ones, they didn't break you, but they certainly tried. They lied, manipulated, and orchestrated every trick in their playbook to see you crumble. Why? Because your light makes them uneasy. Your very existence threatens their fragile illusions. Do you know what haunts them the most? It's not just your resilience, it's the divine protection enveloping your soul. You move differently, covered in favor. They can never comprehend it. Every step you take is guided, every fall is caught, every battle is already won before it begins. You do not walk alone. Heaven's army marches with you. They see it even if you don't. Your enemies recognize something in you that fills them with terror, something nameless but felt deep within their bones. It's the power of being chosen. A light so brilliant it pierces through their masks, blinds them, and reminds them of what they'll never possess. In their desperation to extinguish your flame, they've only stoked it. You don't fully realize the power you hold, but they do. That's why they've aimed to isolate you, tear you down, and instill self-doubt. It's not you they fear, it's what's behind you and within you. It's the divine calling on your life that echoes louder than their empty words. You've faced betrayal, mockery, and abandonment. They tortured you in unspeakable ways, thinking their actions would shatter you, but instead, they've awakened something within you that cannot be silenced. They ignited a fire of indignation in the heavens, and now it spirals beyond their control. They wanted you weak, but they made you stronger. They sought to silence you, but they gave you a voice. They aimed to make you lost, yet they propelled you closer to your destiny. You chosen ones are living proof that God doesn't merely exist. He defends. Their judgment is already decreed, and their downfall is unavoidable. No man can harm what is anointed by God. They mocked you as if the heavens weren't observing, as if there wouldn't be a price for touching the untouchable. But understand this, God is not mocked. What they've done to you, they've done to Him, and His wrath is a force unlike man's anger. He is patient, yes, but He is also just. The scales are tipping, and your enemies will reap every seed of destruction they've sown in your life. Think of yourself as a storm trapped in a glass jar. For so long, they've shaken it, believing they could control its contents, but now the jar is cracking. Once shattered, the storm will be unleashed. They've built walls around their illusions, yet those walls cannot withstand what is on the horizon. The irony lies in the fact that they've been so preoccupied with plotting your downfall that they failed to notice their own demise inching closer. A man who digs a grave for another often finds himself lying in it. Chosen ones, you don't need revenge. The power of being chosen is enough. Divine protection is your shield, your sword, and your victory. Let them watch as you rise above every challenge they placed in your way. Let them witness the blessings overflowing from your life. Blessings they cannot obstruct nor touch. Your presence is a testament that justice is active, that God fights battles you're unaware of. You are more than a survivor. You are living evidence of God's favor. Let them gossip, let them plot, let them burn with envy. They cannot stop what is already written. What is coming for them is not your concern, it's His. Keep moving forward, keep shining, and know that the fire they ignited will ultimately consume them. To you, yes you, the chosen one, thank you for being here. Whether this is your first time or you've been walking this path for a while, your presence is powerful. It matters. If you're ready to reclaim the strength they tried to strip from you, to rise from the ashes of their chaos, and to embrace the fire they lit but cannot control, then smash that like button, hit subscribe to Chosen One's Sanctuary, and drop the number 888 in the comments below. Now, let's immerse ourselves step by step. Believe me, if you are truly chosen, you will feel the pull to journey to the very end. Let's get started. Number 1. They played with fire, and now they're getting burned. You can dance with fire, but don't lament when it consumes you. They believed they were invincible. They thought you were just another insignificant soul, a face in the crowd they could ridicule, manipulate, or annihilate without consequence. What they failed to recognize, what their arrogance blinded them to, is that you were never ordinary. You are chosen, set apart by a divine plan they couldn't begin to fathom. You weren't an accidental encounter. You were placed in their path as a warning, a reflection of their own failures, and a test they were destined to fail. Do not touch my anointed ones. The word has warned for ages, but their pride deafened them to the truth. Like foolish beings taunting the storm, they poked and prodded, mistaking the calm before divine intervention for weakness. Every action they took against you was akin to lighting a match in a parched forest. They didn't discern the enormity of the fire they were about to unleash. As the flames grow, they come to realize all too late that they bit off more than they could manage, and there is no escape from the inferno they've ignited. Your silence infuriated them because they mistook it for surrender. Little did they know your silence was strategy, the quiet confidence of a lion poised to pounce. You weren't retreating, you were observing, preparing. They laughed when you refrained from reacting, mocked your patience, and believed they had broken you. But patience isn't a sign of weakness, it's power. They'll never comprehend it. Patience is the slow assembly of strength, the divine pause before the whirlwind, the tightening of a bowstring before release. And now, the reckoning has commenced. Every insult, every betrayal, every calculated attempt to undermine you was not a personal attack, it was spiritual warfare. By targeting you, they dared to challenge forces far beyond their grasp. Imagine a moth foolishly flying into a flame, convinced it is merely a flicker of light, only to be consumed by it. That's precisely what they've done. They thought they could dim your light, but instead, they've fueled a blaze that now engulfs their own illusions of power. Chosen ones, heed this. Their attacks didn't weaken you, they fortified you. Every stone they cast became part of the foundation of your ascent. Every cruel word was fuel for the fire now burning in your soul. While they laughed in their moment of perceived victory, they failed to see the eternal forces moving in your favor. You aren't ordinary, you are a vessel of divine justice. Their ignorance disrupted realms they cannot perceive, and now the consequences crash back upon them like waves they cannot outrun. What terrifies them most is that they cannot halt you. Your light shines brighter now, sharper and more undeniable than ever. They thought they had snuffed out your spark, but they only made it blaze stronger. Now they stand amidst the ruins of their making, bewildered and afraid, unable to comprehend the power they sought to suppress. This isn't mere chance. Their downfall was a certainty the moment they underestimated you. By hurting you, they challenge the God who walks before you, who fights battles you remain unaware of. You weren't placed in their lives to be a victim. You were sent as a living reminder of the power they will never possess. They scoffed at the storm, and now find themselves drowning in it. It's no longer a question of if they will fall, but when. They gambled with fire, believing they would walk away untouched, but the flames they ignited are now consuming them from within. They underestimated you because they underestimated the one who shields you. Now they are learning the hard way that no one can mock the chosen without facing consequences. Their arrogance couldn't save them. Their lies, schemes, and cruelty are all catching up to them. They believed they were the hunters, but now they've become the prey. While they scramble in confusion, you rise. Your resilience serves as a reminder that the divine does not abandon its own. Remember this, chosen ones. Every tear, every insult, every betrayal was not in vain. They were the sparks that ignited your transformation. Now you are unstoppable, walking proof that no weapon forged against you shall prosper. Let them watch as their plans disintegrate, and your light continues to shine. They thought they possessed power, but now they'll learn that true power belongs to those who are chosen, protected, and unstoppable. They danced with fire, and now it's their turn to burn. Number 2. When pride transforms into a trap, the fall becomes inevitable. The higher you construct your foundation upon lies, the harder the ground feels when you descend. They paraded through life, swollen with pride, believing they were untouchable. They thought they could rewrite the narrative, creating a world where they sat above all else, despite that they dwelled in their delusions, in a world where manipulation, deceit, and cruelty are wielded like toys. Those who revel in such games often fail to see the ruins they leave behind. They may walk away unscathed, blinded by their own arrogance. It's a dangerous blindness, one that leads them to mistake your silence for weakness, while their delusions are mistaken for strength. What they cannot comprehend, obscured by their pride, is that you are not just anyone. You are a chosen one, divinely protected and never alone in your battles. Pride, when worn as armor, becomes heavier than it is protective. They strutted around, believing their arrogance made them immune to consequences, but it is precisely that inflated sense of self that leads them toward their downfall. With every reckless scheme they executed against you, they tightened the noose of their own making. They believed they could outsmart justice, but divine justice plays by its own rules, rules that cannot be cheated. By mocking the laws of balance and the unseen forces that govern this world, they crossed a boundary far greater than they ever realized. In waging war against you, they were effectively waging war against the one who chose you. They overlooked the timeless truth. You cannot engage in a battle against God and emerge victorious. They danced through the shadows, thinking they would forever escape the light. But now that light has caught up with them. Their facade is crumbling, their masks slipping, and the cracks in their constructs are widening with each passing moment. They were filled with a false sense of power, unaware that they were never in control. Their pride was built on a flimsy foundation, like quicksand, and now they're sinking, desperately clawing for a way out that doesn't exist. Arrogance has a way of shouting loudly before the inevitable collapse. They convinced themselves they had silenced you, broken you, and outsmarted you. Yet the fire they ignited, the chaos they unleashed, now rages uncontrollably, fueled by their own malevolent intentions. Every scheme, every venomous remark, every betrayal has rebounded back to them, magnified and relentless. God witnessed it all, every whispered plan, every hidden dagger disguised by their smiles. You need not retaliate because divine justice doesn't require human hands. The universe was already in motion on your behalf while they plotted your downfall. Now, as their lies unravel, they can only watch their carefully constructed house of cards collapse under its own weight. They thought they could usurp God's place in your life. But what they did not grasp was the magnitude of the forces they were provoking. Their gravest error was not merely underestimating you, but underestimating the God who shields you. Each stone they hurled at you was not a weapon of weakness. Rather, it became a stepping stone, adding strength to the fortress on which you now stand as a chosen one. Their arrogance illuminated the very divine protection that surrounds you. They endeavored to weaken you, but instead, they revealed the depth of your calling. What they initiated as a destructive force has only made you invulnerable. Picture a predator racing toward its prey, so caught up in its own attack that it fails to notice the trap lying in wait. This is precisely what they have done. Their sight blinded by arrogance, they ran straight toward their own ruin. As the truth descends upon them, they're left choking on the very pride that once made them feel untouchable. They mocked your patience, failing to realize that patience is a significant weapon. It embodies the quiet confidence that the battle doesn't belong to you. It belongs to a higher purpose. They believed you lacked the strength to retaliate. Yet, what they couldn't fathom is that you never needed to. The power of divine justice outweighs any revenge you could have sought. Now, they find themselves in the debris of their own arrogance, engulfed in the flames they ignited. They are discovering that pride is not just a flaw, it is a profound weakness. The harder they worked to tear you down, the more vigorously they have themselves fallen. Remember, chosen ones, their pride was never truly about you. It was about their own shortcomings. It blinded them from recognizing your strength and the divine shield that protects you. They underestimated your resolve, and now they are facing the consequences. You need not lift a finger. The battle has already been won. The fire they intended to destroy you with only fabricated your unstoppable spirit. Their plan was cloaked in malignity to crush your spirit, devastate your resolve, and leave you questioning your very existence. They sought to turn you to dust, aiming to erase you. But here's the surprising twist they never anticipated. The flames they lit did not consume you. They forged you. What they thought would obliterate you only sharpened your resolve and fortified your spirit. Their cruelty became the very heat that tempered you, their treachery the flame, and their deceit the very fuel. Instead of yielding to the pressure, you were transformed like steel shaped by a master blacksmith. Every insult, every malicious attempt to derail your life only honed your resilience. They believed they were dismantling you, but all they succeeded in doing was refining you. Isn't it poetic? They aimed to extinguish your light, but in truth, they only fanned the flames of your inner strength. What they failed to grasp is that a chosen one does not burn. They rise, purified by trials. You emerged not just unscathed, but resplendent, stronger, and more precious than ever. The doubts, fears, and insecurities that once anchored you were swept away in the fire. The irony is profoundly clear. The harder they pressed you, the more you rose. With every scheme, they accelerated your journey towards destiny. Imagine their shock now, as they witness the fire intended to bring about your downfall morph into the brilliance that lights your path. They believed themselves to be the authors of your final chapter, but all they've done is set the stage for your greatest metamorphosis. They aspired for control, thinking they could dictate the course of your life when control was never theirs to wield. Their ignorance was startling. They failed to recognize that you are not just anyone, you are chosen. Every attack against you was also an affront to the divine purpose inscribed in your being. When you are chosen, no amount of darkness, deceit, or malice can extinguish the light that dwells within you. Now, look at them. Stunned, silent, powerless. They are witnessing a version of you they thought could never exist. Stronger, wiser, untouchable. The fire they kindled didn't demolish you, it transformed you. Now they're left in the shadows, forced to behold the triumph they desperately sought to dismantle. They are haunted by the image of your success, not merely because you endured, but because you thrived. Every step you take now is a stark reminder of their failure and a testament to the power they will never possess. They did not simply underestimate you, they underestimated the God who walks beside you. The schemes, betrayals, and malice they propagated were tools in the hands of a higher power, sculpting you into your destined self. Chosen ones, recognize this. The fire did not mark your end, it heralded your beginning. It didn't obliterate you, it unveiled your inherent strength. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes, you've become a beacon of resilience, a living testament that no earthly force can thwart someone imbued with purpose. Their attempts to extinguish your light were never truly aimed at you. They were reflections of their own fears and insecurities, struggling to coexist in the presence of someone destined for greatness. They saw your light and misguidedly believed they could snuff it out. Yet, light such as yours doesn't fade, it intensifies. Now they dwell in the reality of your resilience, unable to look away. The lesson is unmistakable. They kindled the flames, but it did not unfold as planned. The inferno did not consume you. It consumed everything unworthy of remaining in your life, cleansing you, empowering you, and liberating you. And now, here you stand, steadfast and undefeated, a living example that no weapon forged against you can prevail. So let them bear witness, let them languish in shadows of their own making, powerless to hinder the ascent of someone they thought they could obliterate. What they envisioned for your harm has blossomed into your greatest victory. The fire they ignited was never meant to destroy you. It was always meant to awaken the essence of who you are. Now stride forward, ever stronger and radiant, for you are proof that darkness can never extinguish the light ignited by purpose. They couldn't have been more mistaken. Every word, every scheme, every intentional act of harm didn't just go unnoticed, it was meticulously recorded. The spiritual realm never turns a blind eye, especially when the target is one walking in divine purpose. You don't tread this path alone, and that is a truth they will never grasp. Your calling is accompanied by a shield invisible to them, and a justice they will never be able to escape. What they perceived as a personal affront, a private vendetta, was, in truth, a direct challenge to God's magnificent plan for your life. They didn't merely come after you, they took aim at the very purpose for which you were destined. Here's a truth they refuse to accept. You cannot wage war against the divine and anticipate victory. Their arrogance has left them blind. Each betrayal, every deceitful word, whispered in shadows, rippled far beyond their comprehension. Their actions didn't just inflict pain upon you. They disrupted spiritual balances they never even acknowledged. What was concealed in darkness has been brought to light, and the evidence of their cruelty now stands as the most powerful testimony against them. It's almost like poetic justice, isn't it? Piece by piece, they constructed their own case. Every attempt to harm you only tightened the noose around their own necks. What they sowed in secret has now blossomed for all to witness, and the fruits of their deeds are indeed bitter. The spiritual realm is meticulous. Not a single thought, word, or action has gone unregistered. Every quiet scheme they executed in silence, every smirk hidden behind false kindness, Every trap they set was being documented by forces far greater than either you or them. What they believed was concealed has now been unveiled. The scales of justice are ever shifting, and their actions tipped those scales against them. They thought they could cheat the system, but divine justice is unfaltering, and it misses nothing. Chosen ones, understand this. Their attack was not just on you, it was against the divine hand that guides your steps, the calling that distinguishes you, the purpose that establishes you as a force they cannot fathom. That was a battle destined for them to lose from the very beginning. Their actions have become the evidence sealing their fate, proving their guilt louder than any denial or excuse could ever proclaim. Justice for the chosen is not always immediate, but it is invariably certain. What they inflicted upon you is now their unraveling. Their assumption that secrets would offer them protection has backfired, turning those very secrets into a spotlight that reveals all. Their cruelty didn't succeed. It exploded in their faces. The judgment they thought they could evade is now right on their heels, and there's no escaping the truth. When you harm the chosen, you essentially carve your own judgment in stone. Number 5, they laughed at the light, unaware that it was their own shadows it revealed. The brighter the light, the darker the shadows, and some would choose to destroy that light rather than confront their own darkness. Their laughter never originated from you. It was a smokescreen, a desperate attempt to shield themselves from the discomfort your light cast upon them. You carried a calm, quiet strength they couldn't begin to comprehend, a favor they could neither replicate nor appreciate. Instead of looking inward, instead of confronting their own emptiness, they defaulted to mockery, which became their defense, an attempt to mask their fear, jealousy, and bitterness. What people cannot understand, they fear, and what they fear, they tend to attack. Your light acted as a mirror, exposing their shadows, the buried insecurities, the flaws they evaded. Every cruel jest, every sarcastic remark, every sneer was a defense mechanism against the discomfort you stirred within them. You didn't threaten them. It was their own reflection that did. Your strength reminded them of their weaknesses. Your faith illuminated their doubts, and your favor highlighted everything they yearned for, but could never attain. Their mockery wasn't just harmless banter. Every word spoken against you was an act of rebellion, not just against you, but against the divine force manifest within you. They didn't merely laugh at you, they rejected the source of your light. In doing so, they resisted the truth itself, and rebellion against truth always comes with consequences. To mock the light is to invite shadows to engulf you. Here's the revelation they never grasped. Their ridicule didn't break your spirit, it refined it. Every insult, every moment of scorn served as fuel for your inner fire. While they believed they were tearing you down, you were actually ascending to new heights. Their assaults sharpened your purpose, reinforced your faith, and deepened your resilience. They weren't dimming your light, they were amplifying it. The irony is now unmistakable. They stood against you, convinced they could silence you, and yet here you are, shining brighter than ever. What they mocked wasn't weakness. It was an unshakable strength, divine protection, and favor they will never understand. Now, as they witness your ascendance, the truth they tried to escape has become impossible to digest. Their laughter has faded, replaced by discomfort, silence, and perhaps even regret. The light they endeavored to extinguish now stands as evidence of everything they lack: courage, purpose, and a connection to something far greater than themselves. Their attempts to shatter you only exposed the cracks in their own foundation. Chosen ones, acknowledge this. Their mockery was never an indication of your worth. It was their rebellion against the truth your light carried. And now they find themselves compelled to confront the undeniable reality that the light they scorned was something they could never attain. Their laughter has paved the way for their own reckoning. Number 6. They thought your silence was surrender, but it turned out to be their undoing. Silence isn't the absence of strength. It's the calm before the thunder that demolishes illusions. They observed your tranquility and mistook it for defeat. Their arrogance led them to believe they had broken you. What they failed to grasp was that your silence wasn't a white flag. It was a strategy far beyond their understanding. While they reveled in what they considered their victory, they were blind to the storm brewing just beneath that stillness. Chosen ones, your silence wasn't empty, it was pure power. They couldn't see that not every conflict demands words or actions. You recognize that stillness, when wielded wisely, carries a weight far beyond mere noise. Rather than engaging in chaos, you chose patience over impulsivity, wisdom over naivety. You stepped back, not because you were timid, but because you understood divine justice operates on its own timeline. It never rushes, yet it always hits its mark. Every cruel word thrown at you, every lie woven about you, and every snare laid for you only served to ignite a fire they never perceived was on its way. In their celebration of what they thought was their triumph, they were only digging their own graves. Your silence was not an end. It was the commencement of a reckoning they never foresaw. What they failed to recognize was that your silence was analyzing them, exposing their true selves without their realization. They unveiled their lies, their malice, their insecurities during their desperate attempts to project power over you. And you didn't need to lift a finger. You remained still because you knew the truth. Every action begets a consequence, and no one evades divine justice. Now, those consequences are closing in on them. The fire they ignited is scorching them instead, and the silence they mocked has transformed into their unraveling. The very restraint they derided has become the clearest indication of their failure. They believed they had silenced you. Instead, it's their own cries for mercy that echo in the silence they once tried to fill with their arrogance. They thought your stillness was weakness, but it was profound strength beyond their comprehension. They assumed you'd surrendered, but in reality, you were handing the battle to a force they could never rival. Chosen ones must remember this. Their gravest error was underestimating not just your voice, but the power of your silence. What they deemed a victory has metamorphosed into their greatest humiliation. They've been brought low by the very thing they sought to suppress. As they confront the repercussions of their actions, you rise from the silence that has always been your strength. The storm they failed to foresee wasn't outside of you. It was the divine power surging through your silence. They thought they had triumphed, but the battle was never theirs to engage in. This was your journey to withstand, and it was never yours to navigate alone. Now they are awakening to the harsh truth. Silence does not equate to surrender. Instead, it is the herald of justice. Number 7. Mercy knocked, but their pride locked the door. The road to destruction is cobbled with ignored warnings, and pride stands guard at the gate, barring grace from entering. The signs were ever present, clear as the dawn breaking through a tempest. A streak of unexplainable misfortune, a haunting dream echoing in their minds, an uneasy whisper urging them to reconsider their choices. These weren't mere coincidences. They were divine warnings, lifelines sent to draw them back from the brink. Yet their pride screamed louder than grace, drowning out every opportunity for reflection. Every stumble, every unexplainable bit of bad luck was an invitation to pause, to reassess their path. Instead of heeding these warnings, they laughed it off. dismissing their unease as mere paranoia. They failed to see the grace calling to them, lost in the siren song of their own arrogance, and now they must reckon with the consequences that await them. Brushed aside their dreams as inconsequential and charged ahead as if they were untouchable. They didn't just ignore the signs, they mocked them. What they failed to recognize was that mercy always precedes judgment. Even those who harm others are granted opportunities to change, moments of clarity that reveal the cracks in their plans. Yet, arrogance has a way of closing off reason, leading them to mistake delayed consequences for permission to continue their destructive paths. The chosen ones comprehend this truth. Mercy is not weakness, it's a gift, an opportunity for even the most misguided to pause before it's too late. But in their pride, they misunderstood it entirely. Every disregarded warning and each despised dream brought them closer to their undoing. The whispers grew louder, the signs became unmistakable, yet their pride blinded them. They persisted, convinced they could escape the consequences, not realizing they were igniting the very inferno that would consume them. As their world crumbled around them, the warnings they had dismissed rushed back. Those dreams they shrugged off weren't mere figments of imagination. They were lifelines. The setbacks they labeled as coincidences were divine interventions meant to halt their momentum. The inner voice they silenced was not paranoia, it was grace, whispering one last time. But pride is a ruthless master, keeping them deaf, blind, and defenseless. Their downfall wasn't a sudden strike from the heavens, it was a slow, deliberate descent. Every ignored sign and overlooked warning was a brick that paved the road to this moment. Now, the very pride that shielded them from the truth has left them vulnerable to the weight of their consequences. The tragedy of their fall lies not just in its occurrence, but in its avoidability. Mercy knocked again and again, but pride refused to unlock the door. They had their chances, their moments of clarity, their opportunities to turn back. But now, as the flames of their own making engulf them, all they can do is remember the warnings they neglected. This, chosen ones, is the essence of divine justice. It offers mercy first, but when mercy is scorned, justice takes its place. Let this be a reminder that pride blinds, but the truth always finds a way to shine through. They attempted to bury you, but you were a storm waiting to erupt. You cannot suffocate a storm. It gathers strength beneath the surface and rises with unstoppable force. They believed they had buried you permanently, hidden away in the depths of their cruelty and arrogance. To them, pushing you into the shadows was the end of your narrative. They viewed their schemes, betrayals, and manipulations as tools to erase you, to silence your voice forever. What they failed to grasp is that the very darkness they thought would engulf you became the force that empowered you. In their pride, they mistook stillness for surrender and silence for defeat. They were blind to the power surging within as you quietly built your strength in isolation. Each attempt to crush your spirit only fueled the fire they believed they had extinguished. What they didn't realize is that you were never meant to remain hidden. The silence they imposed was merely preparation for the storm you were destined to become. While they reveled in what they thought was your demise, they were oblivious to the transformation unfolding within you. Every insult they hurled, every lie they spread, and every betrayal they orchestrated only added pressure, sharpening your resolve. They thought they were obliterating you, but instead they were honing your edge. The very darkness meant to swallow you became the nurturing ground for your resurgence. When you finally emerged, it was not in whispers but with undeniable, unshakable, unstoppable force. They believed they had buried their fears in the hope you would vanish. Yet now they stand in disbelief, witnessing your rise beyond their wildest imaginations. their cruelty, their arrogance, it all backfired. Their attempts to suppress you have become the catalyst for your flourishing. They saw themselves as architects of your downfall, but in reality, they were mere pawns in your divine ascension. Now, as you stand in your power, their world crumbles. The lies upon which they built their victories unravel, and the weight of their actions, the consequences of their choices, catch up with them. They are reaping the harvest of destruction they intended for your life. But instead of breaking you, they have shattered themselves. You didn't just survive, you transformed. You've stepped into your purpose with an authority they cannot fathom. The very hands that sought to bury you now tremble as they watch you rise, flourishing in a light they thought they had extinguished. You are a storm they cannot contain, a force they cannot control, a truth they cannot silence. They believed they held the final word, but they were mistaken. The story was never theirs to tell. It always lay in the hands of the divine. You were never meant to remain buried. You were destined to rise and shake the ground beneath their feet, reminding the world that no force can silence the chosen. The traps they set for you have become their own undoing. The webs they spun to ensnare you have turned into the nets in which they find themselves entangled. Every scheme they devised, every trap they carefully concocted, every deceptive strategy aimed at your destruction has backfired in the most poetic manner. They thought they were master strategists orchestrating your demise as if they held the cards in this game. What they failed to comprehend is that when one is aligned with divine purpose, every attack becomes a stepping stone to greater heights. What they intended to harm you has only fortified you, while their own plans crumble around them. They weren't merely scheming against you, they were scheming against the forces that protect and guide you. That was their fatal error. They believed they were in control, pulling the strings like puppet masters, yet the very threads they wove into traps for you became binding knots strangling their own ambitions. Their arrogance blinded them to the fact that you are divinely shielded. Every hostile move they made against you was a move against the one who stands resolutely behind you. They were not just outsmarted, they were unraveled by their own actions. Picture a hunter setting a snare in the woods only to stumble into it themselves. This is exactly what unfolded. Every stone they rolled in your direction returned with greater force upon them. Their plans were doomed from the onset because they underestimated the power of divine justice. Each step they took to witness your failure drew them closer to their own downfall. It's akin to a boomerang. Every ounce of malice they directed toward you hurtled back with a velocity they could never foresee. While they waited to see you falter, they inadvertently crafted the stage for their own reckoning. Their lies illuminated in the spotlight, their traps became their prisons, and their schemes led to the unraveling of everything they had built. As you rise stronger, they stand amidst the wreckage of their own making. The chaos they conjured to destroy you engulfs them instead. The harder they pushed for your downfall, the deeper they sank into the abyss they created. They believed they were digging your grave, but in truth, they were excavating their own. The irony of it all is sweeter than any victory. Their certainty in your failure obscured the truth that they were orchestrating their own collapse. Now, as they grapple with the ruins of their meticulously planned plots, they are compelled to confront a painful reality. Their schemes didn't simply fail, they spectacularly backfired. Chosen ones, this is the justice you never had to fight for. What they attempted to bury you with has become the very foundation from which you have risen. Their downfall isn't mere coincidence, it is divine retribution. They have ensnared themselves in their own traps, imprisoned by their own ambition and undone by their arrogance. And now, while their world crumbles into chaos, you stand tall, untouched, victorious, and unstoppable. The fall of those who sought to bring you down has now become the stepping stone to your ultimate glory. You cannot steal what was never yours, and you cannot retain what was constructed upon deceit. Every move they made to strip you of your blessings, your joy, and your purpose has ultimately turned back against them. They thought they could tarnish your name, isolate you, and seize what was rightfully yours. Yet, they've paved the path for your rise. They never understood that favor is not something that can be taken. It is earned through alignment with purpose, resilience, and divine intention. Their attempts to deny you that favor have only hastened their own decline. Socially, the masks they wore are decaying. The lies spun to manipulate others are unraveling faster than they can control. The alliances they thought were steadfast are beginning to turn against them, and those they deceived for so long are finally seeing through the facade. Their influence, once a mighty force, now slips away like sand through fingers. The spotlight they coveted has morphed into a blinding light, exposing every flaw, each deception, and every act of malice they thought was buried away. Their world is contracting as yours expands. Spiritually, they have severed their connection. Each betrayal, every hateful word, and each malicious plot has driven them further from divine favor. The blessings they once took for granted, the peace, guidance, and sense of purpose, are lost to them now. They wander through a wilderness, disoriented and cut off, unable to hear the very grace they once dismissed. It is here, in this stark contrast, that you must shine brightly, carrying with you the message of hope and resilience. You are a testament to the power of divine justice and purpose, and your story is just beginning. The voice they once disregarded, believing they could manipulate God in your life, now faces the consequences of their actions. They are beginning to understand what it truly means to be without grace. Their arrogance has excluded them from the very flow of blessings they so desperately crave, and they remain unaware of it. The cracks in their material success are unmistakable. The wealth, stability, and achievements they once flaunted are rapidly slipping away, just as swiftly as they tried to withhold prosperity from you. What they gained through deceit and cunning was never meant to be theirs to keep. The blessings they attempted to block are now cascading towards you, freely and unimpeded. The tables have turned. Their losses are becoming your gains. Each stumble they make serves as another step on the ladder of your ascent. You, chosen one, are stepping into the glory they tried to deny you. Where they falter, you rise. Where they suffer loss, you experience gain. You have remained steadfast, patient, and aligned with your divine purpose, and now the rewards of your faithfulness are undeniable. The favor that surrounds you is not merely a coincidence. It is the catalyst for your remarkable transformation. As they grapple with the shards of their own making, you are stepping into the abundance that was always intended for you. Their failures aren't simply markers of their downfall, they're proof of your unstoppable rise. Their attempts to bury you have only served to sow the seeds of your greatness. And now it's time for you to reap the harvest. Keep moving forward, chosen one. Their downfall was always a part of the plan, and your rise is nothing short of unstoppable. When you confront the chosen, you awaken the anger of the Creator. Those who attack the sacred often find themselves shattered by the very hands they sought to wound. Their greatest misstep was targeting you without recognizing who stands behind you. They believed they were battling an ordinary mortal, someone they could harm, ridicule, or manipulate without suffering any repercussions. They failed to see that you were never alone. Every ill-intent act directed against you, every lie they spread, every dagger they lodged in your back, was not merely directed at you, it was a blatant defiance against the protective Creator who surrounds you. They underestimated the divine forces that marked you as chosen. In their hubris, they thought they could disrupt your sacred purpose, not understanding that your path was carved by a power beyond their comprehension. Their attacks weren't just misguided, they were acts of rebellion. Open challenges against the one who walks alongside you, ensuring that no weapon fashioned against you shall prevail. You are not ordinary, you are favored, shielded, and set apart for a divine purpose they cannot disrupt, no matter how fervently they try. Their cruelty has not gone unnoticed. The universe, governed by the Creator they derided, has been observing, and divine justice does not forget. They lit a flame with their malice, but now that fire has turned back on its creators. They thought they could escape accountability, but justice does not run on their schedule. The wrath of a protective creator is not hurried. However, when it moves, it does so with overwhelming force. They provoked the heavens themselves in their effort to target you, and now they are faced with a reality from which there is no escape. What they have sown in malice is returning to them in full measure, pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing. Chosen ones, they mistook your silence for weakness. They thought your patience indicated the absence of defense, but what they didn't realize is that your patience was part of a divine strategy. Each moment you chose to rise above their triviality, every decision to refuse to engage at their level, aligned you with a power far superior to their scheming. Now, as you rise, surrounded by divine favor, their plans are crumbling under the weight of justice. Their downturn is no coincidence. It is a direct consequence of their arrogance and rebellion against the protective force that watches over you. They disrespected the divine laws of balance, but those very laws are now dismantling their illusions of control. Their downfall was scripted the moment they chose to cross a line they should never have approached. You were never merely a victim in their narrative. You were the boundary they were never meant to transgress. The repercussions are now unfolding, and they must confront the wrath they summoned upon themselves. Your rise is not simply a triumph. It serves as a powerful reminder that no one, not even the most arrogant, can challenge a chosen one without awakening the protective creator. The fire they ignited has now become their furnace, roaring with vengeance and consuming its creators. They set the flames, believing they would witness your descent into nothingness, reduced to mere ashes. What they failed to see is that the fire they sparked was never meant for you. It was always destined to be their own furnace. Their lies, betrayals, and acts of cruelty were intended as weapons against you. Yet those very weapons have turned on them. What they hoped would obliterate you has instead refined you. Unbeknownst to them, they underestimated the power of divine protection. Chosen ones, you weren't incinerated by their flames, for you were never meant to be. The fire they intended to break you only served to fortify you, tempering your spirit like gold purified by heat. They believed they held the upper hand, but their actions unwittingly sowed the seeds of their own undoing. While you stood in the fire and emerged stronger, they now find themselves engulfed in the very furnace they kindled. Look around. Everything they deemed secure is dismantling. Relationships once built on deceit are disintegrating. Opportunities they wrested by theft are now eluding their grasp. The stability they clung to has transformed into smoke. Their fire, meant to be their victory, has consumed everything they once held dear. This relentless furnace shows no mercy, and there is no escape. Every desperate attempt they make to salvage their lives merely fans the flames higher, intensifying the heat of their karma. They sought to annihilate your peace, but now it's their happiness that lies in ruins. They tried to extinguish your light, only to find their own world plunged into darkness. No matter where they run or what they attempt, the fire lingers, a reflection of the darkness within them. The more they resist, the more they are consumed. Meanwhile, you stand unbroken and unstoppable. The fire meant to end you has instead aligned you more deeply with your purpose. It has fortified your resilience, sharpened your vision, and burned away everything that no longer serves you. You have been refined by the very flames they ignited to harm you. Now you rise, carrying the lessons learned from the fire, yet untouched by its destruction. As they wrestle with the calamities of their choices, the furnace devours all they once relied upon. You proceed forward, blessed and divinely safeguarded. You are living proof that no weapon formed against you can prosper. Their fire has become their punishment, and you have left it behind, striding toward a future they will never reach. Let this truth resonate within you, chosen ones. What they intended for evil, God has transformed into good. Now, as their world faces destruction, you rise from the ashes, unstoppable and victorious. The furnace they created has become their prison while you walk free. And as their fire engulfs them, remember this: no weapon fashioned against you will thrive, and no scheme can outwit divine protection. You exemplify the truth that what was intended to destroy you has only served to make you more resilient. Let their downfall remind you of the profound power within you and the divine forces that shield you. If this message resonates with you, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs this encouragement. And drop the number 888 in the comments if you're ready to rise above and walk boldly into your destiny. Continue shining, chosen ones.